What if everything you know about the existence of alien life is a lie? What if NASA has already found irrefutable evidence, but decided to hide it from humanity? Over the decades, we have been told that the search for life beyond Earth is still in its early stages. But what if we are being manipulated? Leaked documents, statements from former NASA scientists, and unexplained events indicate that the truth may be much more disturbing than we imagine. But there is something even stranger in this story: inexplicable censorship. How many times has NASA interrupted live broadcasts at the exact moment an unidentified object appeared? Why are captured images of Mars and the Moon often edited before being released to the public? What don't they want us to see? What if I told you that NASA's own astronauts have already made revealing statements about encounters with something they can't explain? Would you believe them, or would you accept the official version that always tries to downplay these reports? In this video, we will dive deep into the mysteries surrounding the existence of extraterrestrial life and the possible manipulation of the information that reaches us. We will analyze secret documents, testimonies from former scientists, evidence from space missions, and try to understand if NASA is really hiding something that could change the course of humanity forever. The truth may be much closer than we imagine, but the question is, are we ready to accept it? Now tell me, do you really think that NASA would show the world a discovery capable of rewriting the entire history of humanity? Or is it more convenient to keep everything confidential, away from the public? If the answer isn't clear yet, wait until we see the details that the mainstream media insists on ignoring. And I want to know your opinion on this. Do you believe that NASA has already found evidence of alien life, but hides this information? Or do you think this is all speculation? Leave your comment below, because this discussion needs to happen. And I want to know how you see this story. Press like now, because what comes next will leave you even more intrigued. And if you haven't subscribed to the channel yet, you're missing out on the chance to access information that could change your view of the universe. So sign up now and activate the bell, because this is just the beginning. Now let's dive deeper into the mysteries that could prove, once and for all, that we are not alone. Among the most emblematic cases, one of the ones that generates the most debate to this day is the Viking 1 mission in 1976, when an experiment carried out on the surface of Mars indicated signs of biological activity. At the time, scientists involved in the project received data that showed chemical reactions consistent with the presence of microbial life. The reaction observed in the tests was exactly what one would expect to find if there were living microorganisms in the Martian soil. And that wasn't the only suspicious episode. Just a year later, in 1977, a radio signal picked up by Ohio State University's Big Ear radio telescope caused a stir in the scientific community. Known as the WOW signal, this recording was one of the most mysterious ever detected from deep space. For 72 seconds, an intense radio pulse with characteristics that did not match any known natural source was detected. Astronomer Jerry Amon, who was analyzing the data at the time, was so impressed that he circled the sequence of numbers and wrote "WOW" alongside, giving rise to the name of the phenomenon. And we cannot ignore one of the most intriguing projects when we talk about the search for extraterrestrial life, SETI, or Search for Extraterrestrial Intelligence. For decades, this initiative has been humanity's best hope for detecting signs of alien civilizations, scanning the skies for intelligent transmissions from deep space. But there is something deeply strange about the history of this project. SETI has captured countless anomalous signals over the years, but there has always been a convenient explanation for dismissing them. And here's the most intriguing part. Some researchers argue that the signals may actually be being intercepted before they reach the public. Think about it. If a clear, undeniable signal from an alien civilization was detected, do you think the world would know in the next instant? Or would scientific and government authorities first analyze, discuss, and perhaps decide that it would be best to keep the discovery secret? After all, confirmed contact with an extraterrestrial civilization could completely destabilize human society, shaking power structures, religious beliefs, and even our very identity as a species. And now an even more frightening question arises. What if we already received a clear message but decided that humanity was not ready to know? Imagine if an extraterrestrial signal arrived with instructions, with detailed information about who they are, where they come from, and what they know about the universe. This could be a watershed moment for human civilization, but it could also be seen as a threat. What if NASA and other government agencies chose to keep this information restricted, fearing the consequences of revealing to the world that we are not alone? Now, I want to know your opinion on all this. Do you really believe we are alone? Or do you think NASA and other agencies know much more than they say? Could it be that the evidence is already in front of our eyes, but we have been trained to ignore it? Write in the comments what you think about this mystery, and to test if you are really paying attention, comment right now. Silence is the greatest answer. And before you continue, hit like now. This isn't just a click, it's a way to spread this information and ensure that more people start asking questions. And if you haven't signed up yet, do so now, because we're just beginning to unlock the secrets that could forever change the way we see the universe. If history has taught us anything, it's that when secrets begin to slip through the cracks of silence, those who dare to speak out pay a heavy price. And that's exactly what happened to astronauts and scientists who decided to break the secrecy pact and reveal to the world what they really saw, what they really know. But the question is, why are these testimonies systematically ignored by the mainstream media and discredited by official institutions? Why are men who have reached space, who have witnessed the unknown with their own eyes, treated as if they are delusional or making up stories? Are they just baseless reports or such a threat to the status quo that they need to be silenced at any cost? The first name that comes up when we talk about this is Edgar Mitchell, Apollo 14 astronaut, the sixth man to set foot on the moon. Unlike the other astronauts who, upon returning to Earth, limited themselves to talking about the technical aspects of the mission, Mitchell began to make statements that made many people uncomfortable. In several interviews, he stated that aliens have already visited Earth and that the government has been hiding this information for decades. According to him, we are not only being observed, but there are concrete records of these visits that have never been made public. Mitchell even mentioned that certain power structures keep this truth away from the population to avoid a social and economic collapse. But what exactly did he see or know to make him so sure? Another intriguing case is that of Gordon Cooper, one of NASA's first astronauts, a member of the Mercury program, and a true American hero. Cooper reported that, during one mission, he spotted unidentified objects performing maneuvers impossible for any aircraft known at the time. But his story doesn't stop there. Still an Air Force pilot, even before being selected for the space program, Cooper witnessed an impressive episode. A UFO landed on a United States military base and was photographed by a team of which he was part. These images were immediately sent to Washington and then disappeared without a trace. Cooper spent years trying to alert the world to these events, but like Mitchell, he was constantly ignored. And this raises an alarming question. Why do so many people who work or have worked for NASA report similar events, but their voices are systematically silenced? If only astronauts talked about this, there might still be those who question the credibility of the reports. But when scientists and engineers begin to reveal information that indicates that NASA may be far ahead of what we imagine in relation to extraterrestrial life, the scenario becomes even more sinister. One of the most controversial names in this field is Bob Lazar. He was not an astronaut, but he claims to have worked directly with alien technology in a top-secret facility on the outskirts of the famous Area 51. According to Lazar, his work consisted of trying to understand the propulsion system of a ship of extraterrestrial origin. He described impressive details about how this technology works, stating that these ships operate using an exotic chemical element capable of manipulating gravity in ways that no known human technology could replicate. And now comes the most disturbing part of this story. When Bob Lazar began releasing this information, his life was completely destroyed. Academic records have disappeared. Your credibility has been attacked. Your security has been threatened. If he was just a liar, why was there such a huge effort to erase his existence? What would be the need to destroy his reputation if everything he said was just a hoax? What's scary is not just what Lazar revealed, but the brutal response he received for exposing this knowledge. This leads us to an inevitable question. How many other people know too much, but choose to remain silent to avoid the same fate? And don't think that these stories are isolated cases. There are dozens of reports from scientists who worked directly for NASA and claim that essential information was hidden to keep the population under control. Some say that the discovery of alien life happened a long time ago, but that publicizing this truth would cause an irreversible impact on society. Others claim that top-secret projects deal with recovered extraterrestrial artifacts, but that any attempt to reveal this to the public is immediately suppressed. Be that as it may, the fact that so many people connected to NASA share similar experiences cannot be ignored. And now I want to hear from you. Do you believe that astronauts and scientists like Edgar Mitchell, Gordon Cooper, and Bob Lazar are telling the truth? Or do you think these testimonials are just distorted stories? Write your opinion about this mystery in the comments, and to prove that you are really following everything, comment right now, "The truth is beyond the stars." And before moving on to the next revelations, press like now, because this content needs to reach more people. And if you haven't signed up yet, do so now, because we're just scratching the surface of what could really be going on behind the scenes in space exploration. Perhaps one of the most controversial points is the case of altered images, a pattern of behavior that repeats itself whenever something unexpected is photographed in space. Since the beginning of space missions, there has been evidence that images captured by probes and telescopes were modified before being released to the public. This happens especially with photos of Mars and the Moon, places where there supposedly should be nothing but arid and desolate landscapes. However, over the years, researchers and ufology enthusiasts have found evidence that certain images were edited, with visible elements removed or blurred on purpose, structures that appear in one version of the image and disappear in another, shadows that don't make sense, rough cropping in photos that should be original. If there is nothing to hide, why so many inconsistencies? And we're not just talking about conspiracy theories. There are records of images that have been analyzed and show clear signs of editing. Some image processing experts have already demonstrated that entire portions of photographs taken by NASA have artificial censorship patterns, as if something had been purposely covered up. And the question remains, what exactly were they trying to hide? Could it just be a technical error? Or is there something much deeper going on? What would we see in these images if they hadn't been altered before being released to the public? Now think about it. If there really is nothing but cosmic dust, rocks and craters on the Moon and Mars, why does this kind of censorship happen over and over again? Why do some images appear to contain shadows of structures that shouldn't be there? Are these anomalies, just optical illusions, or are we dealing with a deliberate attempt to hide information about the existence of something other than what we are told? Many researchers believe that these edits are made to hide traces of non-human constructions, underground bases, or even evidence that Mars and the Moon were once inhabited. When Oumuamua was first detected in 2017, astronomers knew they were dealing with something completely different from anything that had ever been recorded. The object, which appeared out of nowhere and crossed our solar system at high speed, presented such unusual characteristics that, even with the conventional explanations presented by science, many doubts remained in the air. Its elongated shape, its strange rotation, and above all its anomalous acceleration were enough to raise suspicions within the scientific community. What could be propelling this object in such an unusual way? And why were NASA and other scientific institutions so quick to dismiss any possibility that Oumuamua could be an artificial structure? The first thing that caught our attention was its shape. Unlike any asteroid or comet ever studied, natural objects in space tend to have more irregular and rounded shapes. But Oumuamua looked like a large elongated cylinder, something that more closely resembled a ship than an ordinary rocky body. Furthermore, its trajectory did not follow an expected pattern. Instead of simply being pulled by the sun's gravity and following a predictable path, Oumuamua accelerated inexplicably as it exited the solar system. This behavior is what made renowned astrophysicist Avi Loeb suggest a hypothesis that many scientists considered too bold. What if Oumuamua is, in fact, an alien artifact? Loeb argued that this anomalous acceleration could be the result of some type of unknown propulsion, perhaps an advanced technology that we cannot understand. He even suggested that Oumuamua could be a light sail, a type of ship propelled by stellar radiation, something that a more advanced civilization could theoretically build to travel great distances across the universe. But instead of taking this possibility seriously, the scientific community treated his statements with extreme skepticism, while NASA was quick to label the object as a simple piece of interstellar rock without any importance. But if it was just that, why are there so many inconsistencies in the data? And we can't ignore the fact that NASA and other space Agencies have always been extremely cautious about admitting anything approaching the possibility of extraterrestrial life. So why would this time be any different? If Oumuamua were really a spy ship sent by an advanced civilization to study our solar system, do you think they would tell us? Now I want to know what you think about this. Do you believe Oumuamua could be an alien probe sent to observe us? Or do you think it was just a misunderstood natural phenomenon? Write your opinion about this mystery in the comments, and to test if you are really following everything, comment right now. Oumuamua came from far away, but he didn't come for nothing. And before moving on to the next revelations, press like now, because this content needs to reach more people. If you haven't signed up yet, do so now, because we're just beginning to unlock the universe's greatest secrets. Every year, science gives us new reasons to believe that life may not be a phenomenon unique to Earth. One of the most impressive examples of this phenomenon happened in 2020, when researchers announced the discovery of phosphine in the atmosphere of Venus. This gas on Earth is directly associated with life being produced by microorganisms in anaerobic environments, that is, where there is no oxygen. The problem? We do not know of any natural chemical process that could generate phosphine in an environment like that of Venus, a planet with very high temperatures and a toxic atmosphere of sulfuric acid. So if there is no plausible geological explanation for the presence of this gas, what would be producing it? The announcement caused great repercussion, but soon after, new studies emerged questioning the data and suggesting that there could have been an error in the measurement. Suddenly, one of the most promising signs of extraterrestrial life simply stopped being discussed. The question is, did they really make a mistake, or was there a greater interest in minimizing this discovery? And it's not just on Venus that evidence like this emerges. In recent years, one of the most promising focuses of astrobiology has been the icy moons of Saturn and Jupiter, Enceladus and Europa, which harbor vast subsurface oceans beneath their ice sheets. Scientists have already detected jets of water vapor being expelled from Enceladus, suggesting that there is intense geological activity in its interior, something that could allow the existence of hydrothermal vents like those we have in Earth's oceans. And what's in these places? Exactly the kind of environment in which life can thrive. If organisms can survive extreme temperatures and light-free environments on our own planet, why couldn't they exist on worlds like these? And then we have Mars, a planet that has intrigued us with its possibilities for decades. It has long been known that Mars had rivers, lakes, and perhaps even oceans in the past, making it a much more life-friendly environment than previously imagined. But what few realize is that even today there are signs that indicate that Mars may not be as dead as we believe. One of the most mysterious discoveries was the detection of methane in the Martian atmosphere. Here on Earth, methane has two main origins: geological processes and living organisms. But the intriguing question is that Mars shows no clear signs of recent volcanic activity, which leads us to ask, what if this methane is a byproduct of the activity of Martian microorganisms hidden underground? Methane on Mars appears and disappears completely irregularly, something that science has not yet been able to explain. NASA itself has already confirmed that rovers like Curiosity have detected this gas in varying concentrations. But whenever a study comes close to concluding that the source may be biological, new analyses immediately appear trying to minimize this hypothesis. Seems like a pretty familiar pattern, doesn't it? Whenever we get too close to the answer, the narrative changes and the official explanation becomes more confusing. And this leads us to an even deeper reflection. If this evidence is already so compelling, could it be that the truth has already been discovered, but is being carefully filtered before it reaches us? Could it be that NASA and other space agencies have already found concrete evidence of extraterrestrial life, but chose to release this information little by little to avoid an abrupt impact on society? If a simple announcement about the detection of phosphine on Venus caused so much controversy, imagine what would happen if tomorrow it was confirmed that Mars or one of Jupiter's moons actually harbors living organisms. Now I want to know what you think about this. Do you think science is really close to proving that we are not alone? Or do you believe that this truth has already been discovered and is being kept from the public? Write your opinion about this mystery in the comments, and to test whether you are really following everything, comment right now. Life has already been found, it just hasn't been announced. And before moving on to the next revelations, press like now, because this content needs to reach more people. If you haven't signed up yet, do so now, because we're just beginning to unlock the universe's greatest secrets. Religions that have shaped the way people see creation for centuries would need to rewrite their doctrines, review their principles, and adapt to a new reality. How would major religious institutions explain a fact that cannot be disputed? Could this be the biggest culture shock in history? How many people would collapse upon realizing that everything they believed in might be incomplete or even wrong? But if the religious issue would already be a huge problem, imagine the geopolitical impact. The balance of power in the world is based on the idea that technological advances are dominated by a few nations. If it were suddenly revealed that much more advanced civilizations exist, and that our technology pales in comparison to them, what kind of crisis would arise between the great powers? Governments would lose control over their populations, as fear of the unknown would generate unpredictable reactions. Imagine if we discovered that these civilizations have already visited us, and that there has been a cover-up going on for decades, and we cannot forget the impact on the economy. Today, our world revolves around the exploitation of natural resources, fossil fuels, and technologies that we still consider revolutionary. But if an extraterrestrial civilization were confirmed, especially if it were more advanced than ours, all of this would become meaningless. Who would worry about oil if there was an infinite energy source dominated by another species? Who would care about the stock market if the idea of interplanetary trade became a reality? Would the global elite, who hold the greatest fortunes on the planet, accept losing their economic dominance without resistance? Or would you try at any cost to keep this information out of the public's reach? Now I want to hear from you. If NASA announced tomorrow that it had found concrete evidence of alien life, how would you react? Do you believe that this discovery has already happened, but is being hidden to avoid a social collapse? Or is this all just speculation? Write your opinion about this mystery in the comments, and to test if you are really following everything, comment right now. The truth would change everything. Something about this story doesn't make sense, and anyone who paid attention to every detail realized that. The evidence is plentiful, the patterns of cover-up are clear, and each time NASA gets closer to a revelation, a new justification emerges to divert public attention. The truth may be much closer than we imagine, but are we being prepared to accept it little by little, or will it never be completely revealed? If the discoveries we've analyzed so far are real, then everything we know about the universe could be wrong. The question is no longer whether we are alone, but when this truth will be officially confirmed, and to what extent we have already been manipulated into believing that we are still looking for something that, in reality, has already been found a long time ago. And don't stop here. If you want to continue unlocking NASA's biggest secrets, now watch the next video that is appearing on the screen. There, we will delve even deeper into this mystery and bring new revelations that could completely change your view of what is really happening. And so you don't miss anything, subscribe to the channel and activate the bell. What's to come will leave you even more intrigued.